In a past video, we talked about how we have been able to work out that we can retire from teaching early. In fact, now that we're recording this, we have officially retired from teaching. But we wanted to put together a video of like really what prompted us to think that we could actually do this in our 50s.
Yeah. So in this video, we'll chat about the research we've done, discussions, decisions we had to make in order to answer the question, could we retire?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll have condensed it all down into 3 big steps to make it easier for you.
And if you stay tuned to the end, we're going to share with you a way that if you're interested to get hold of a budget planner that I have put together. I've actually put together a UK version and a US version, depending on where you are, to help you if you want to go through this decision as well. So stay tuned to find out. If you've been watching us from the very beginning, then you know that we have been living in America for 15 years-ish, and we are now moving back to the UK.
As at time of recording.
At time of recording, yes. In over 2 weeks' time, something like that, yes. So if you wanted to know our reasons for moving, then have a look at the video that is linked somewhere
in this
around
screen,
here,
around us, yes.
Yeah.
Initially, we were going to move back when we reached retirement age. From teaching, maybe about 5 or 10 years from now, because there's 5 years between us. As we come to realize, it wasn't so much the job, it was just life in general seemed to be passing us by, and we'd rather do something with it than...
Yeah, part of it was also looking into retiring here in the United States, and how that would, as probably most of you, if you are watching from the United States, realize takes quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of, could we take the money we had already put aside and retire early in the UK, or do we have to keep trucking along in the US for longer?
So the qualified researcher in our partnership threw herself headfirst into a lot of research about whether or not that was possible for us from our particular financial situation.
So yeah, there's been a lot of information, I will say, as being the researcher. There's a lot of information. It took a long time to sort of collate it. I will say, probably a good year, really. I started to look at the finances of moving back. It's probably taken me a good year, looking through various things, reading, Googling, watching YouTube videos. A lot of people out there have been very helpful as well, to really work it out, and to then sort of order it, like what kind of questions should we be asking ourselves in order to figure out how to go about working out the true bottom line. Like a lot of people, a lot of videos out there, they sort of talk about like, what is the number that I need to have? And that's really important to know, granted, but actually there's a few steps before you even get to that point that you have to really work out.
Yeah.
So as I said, we have kind of put this, or as Paul said, we've kind of distilled it down into a set of questions or decisions to make. And we've kind of put that into 3 main sort of sections, haven't we? Yeah. So the first thing really was like, well, how much do we know we need? Like, what's that big pot of money? How are we going to disperse that month to month? Like, how much do we need to live?
Our expense is going to be in retirement.
Yeah. Basically. So we're going to present it to you sort of like the way that we eventually came about and figured out how we want to do it. But before all that,
voiceover man time. Disclaimer. We're not experts in this area. We're simply sharing the research that we've done in looking at our own early retirement. This is not financial advice in any shape or form. We have only investigated factors that pertain to our specific situation. Do your own research and consult an expert. We hope we can get the ball rolling for you. That is it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So our first section, we're going to call it personal readiness. Yeah. As in, you need to know what you really want to do once you retire. A lot of people know they want to retire, but what is it that you see as your retirement living?
Yeah, you need a clear idea of what it is you want to do with your time. Are you going to travel? You're going to volunteer? You're going to indulge full-time in your hobbies? take time with your family and friends, etc. Things
Yeah.
like that.
Just and then
What
just
would your days look like?
boil it down to like what is it you see yourself doing day to day,
Mm,
week to week, month to month, because all of those choices kind of cost different things. Like
yeah.
if you want to do travel, and even within that, like do you mean travel? Like for us, we do want to travel, but is it just going to be in the United Kingdom? Is it going to be Europe? Or do you want to have these exotic holidays in Bali or
Ooh,
Maldives or
we're
go,
not.
on a all round the world cruise or something like that? Because they all have different price points, don't they?
Yeah.
So you have to sort of sit down and obviously have a chat with your partner about it, and really figure that out. And that's kind of took us a while, didn't it? It took
Yeah.
us a while to
To nail
really,
down
yeah,
what exactly we wanted to do. The other thing is, how are you going to maintain your sense of purpose?
yes,
Because with the research and with people we've known, some people when they retire they get depressed because they feel like they're not doing what they used to do. They feel literally redundant,
right.
and I think you have to think of it as something that you are entitled to. You're entitled to use your time
Hmm.
as you see fit, don't you?
And
What
I
do you
think
think?
also it's important to understand that um, when you do retire, you can still. I mean, you don't have to be that image of retirement. Doesn't have to be, oh, I just sit around the house all day, or
Yeah,
I just mooch around the garden.
T-
Yeah,
turning the fire off and putting an extra cardigan on,
yeah,
that kind of
yeah.
thing.
So
Yeah,
figure out what you want to do. Like a lot of people, I mean, I think had a better insight into this because um, over here as a teacher, you kind of get 2 months off in the summer, don't you?
yeah,
In the UK schools, the holidays are kind of spread a bit better throughout the year.
yeah.
But here, you kind of just get a week here and a week there, like
And
a
then
week,
jump
and then
two
this big
months.
chunk in the summer.
Yeah.
So this kind of, waking up every morning, getting ready for work, going to work kind of does stop for us in the summer.
Mm,
And then we do have time to sort of just laze about. And then we can, after 2 weeks of like decompression,
yeah.
then you figure out, well, what we're going to do now, sort of
Hmm.
thing. So
But
we kind of got used to that already, didn't we?
I think certainly in the last 2 years that's not been the case because we've had things to do related
Right, yeah.
to this.
And you've had, some vacations, but there are some
Yeah,
people who, once you stop work, it's like, boom, it's really quite a shock to the system, isn't it?
yeah, yeah.
And so, like, as I was saying, we had this sort of padding, really. And then it also helps you, once you figure out, pardon me,
Sorry.
what your retirement's going to look like, then you can work out your expenses.
Yeah, yeah. You'll
So,
have a bottom line,
yeah,
but it's the extras on top of that and the level of comfort that you want to live in or
right.
what you want to indulge in.
Yeah, exactly. So that brings us to topic two.
Yeah. Yes, part of your financial readiness,
Yes.
estimating your monthly retirement expenses, work out what your essential is versus your discretionary spending.
So as Paul says, your baseline, your essential is your baseline. What is it that you need essentially just to survive
Hmm.
day to day, week to week, month to month? And that is your household bills, all of that. And this is where, as I said, I did the research. I used quite a lot of information to help put together an expense worksheet. And in the intro, I said to you that at the end we'll talk to you about how you can get hold of it if you're interested. And I have done one if you're based in the US, and I've done a second one if you're based in the UK. So this is anything that you just need. Even for if you're in the US, healthcare is a big one, isn't it?
Yeah. So food, utilities, insurance, what
Rent or
else?
mortgage
Your rent or
payments,
mortgage payments.
things like that.
Yeah, the things you can't do without, really.
I was going to cough then. I
Yeah,
didn't.
you didn't.
I didn't.
Well done.
And then on the other side of that, you have your discretionary. So this is the money that you want maybe to spoil grandchildren if you have them,
Yeah.
or go out and watch the movies, or go to theatre,
Yeah,
or have that holiday, have that travel aspect.
you're free,
Yeah.
loose money, as
Or
it were.
even things like if you wanted to upgrade your car,
Yeah,
or household, like you wanted to remodel a kitchen or something like that. So this would be in that discretionary piece.
no,
So you need to be detailed.
yeah, you really the more information you can gather, the more you can be certain of what's going to come out at the other end of the planner, really.
Yeah. So that's why I wanted to put the spreadsheet in, as a if you're interested, because it kind of really goes into the sort of minutia. Well, I felt for us, it went into the minutia of what might be an expense, and then it works that out. And it's worked. It's set up in a way that if you have it as a monthly amount, or if you have it as an annual amount, eventually you can estimate your complete monthly costs and then your annual costs.
That's right.
So yes, I said we'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah.
Then also, there may be other things. So inheritance is a big one, isn't it?
Yes, not for us because we don't have any
No.
children. But if you're, a doting grandparent, then you probably want to leave your offspring and your offspring's offspring something.
Or
When
even if you have
pass on.
godchildren, or just
Yeah.
people that you're close to, or even a charity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I would
then-
take that out first.
Yes, so it's not touched.
Yeah, take that out first, so that it's not sort of double counted, as
Yeah.
it were. Yeah.
Then total everything up, and that's the amount you will need to have to make sure you've got enough money in your retirement pots.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then obviously you need to look at what retirement pots you have.
Yeah. So that could be any number of things. Savings, regular savings in like an ISA or a HISA, or if you're in the US, a CD, or
In the UK, I don't know, but they call them fixed rate savings
like
accounts.
a fixed rate savings accounts or bonds or something like that.
Yeah.
Fixed rate bond.
Then if you have a private pension, so there are companies obviously that help you save up your pension. This is a what in the US would be maybe a 401k, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Or it could be an occupational pension in
one,
the UK.
yeah.
You've got a teacher.
Yeah, I have two. I have one from when I worked at Procter and Gamble, and one from teaching UK.
Yeah.
But then you actually have your own. You have a different one because you opted out.
I opted out back in the very late 1980s. I was about 21. I opted out, and that was a big deal at the time because they said, "Oh, they want pensions when you get to retirement age," and of course, they were wrong. So I had a private pension from a very early age.
And it's also important to distinguish whether your pension is a what is it called, a DC or a DB. Like if you get a specific, if it's a contribution based one,
right, yeah,
or something like that. So double check. I
Yeah.
don't know, can't remember the lingo off the top of my head now, but there are different types of pensions.
Over here in the US, there's 401ks, of course.
Yeah.
And they break down, and IRAs,
Yes.
both break down into the type where you pay your tax when you take the money out, and those you pay your taxes when you pay the money in. So bear that in mind.
Yeah. Then you may have like a share account. You may have stocks and shares. You may get dividends from those kinds of accounts.
Yeah.
You may have a rental property. And then lastly, you have to think about what we're calling state pensions, I guess, because in the UK it is called the state pension.
But in the US, it's your social security.
Yeah. So have a look and see what you're going to get. Now, obviously, I think the UK pension is a bit easier because there is actually like a specific amount. Yeah. Everybody gets the same amount.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying. And it's all dependent on the number of years that you put in. So as long as you hit the threshold of 35 qualifying payments,
I think so,
you should get the full state pension.
Yeah.
But double check, and you can look that up quite easily on the government website.
Mm-hmm.
Over here in the US, though, you get Social Security based on your actual pay that you've been getting over the years. So again, you have to have a minimum of 10 qualifying years. But then they take your highest paid 35 years of salary in order to calculate what they're going to give you Social Security. So this is where, for people like ourselves who haven't actually worked here the 35 years, we've got the 10 years in, we haven't got the 35 years. Obviously, some of those years are going to be zeros then. Some of those 35 years are going to be zeros. So we're not going to be getting like a full, like if you stayed here and you worked 35 years, we're not going to get a massive Social Security, but it is enough, and it is another pot that is going to obviously go into the calculation here.
The other difference with the US and the UK pensions is you can take your US Social Security at the moment of recording
Right.
at 62 if you wish to do so.
But that makes it a lower amount. So as long
Yeah.
as you're aware that the Social Security is the amount is factored in at you retiring at 67, which is the same as the UK
Yeah, at time of
age.
recording.
But you can take it earlier at 62. You can actually delay it and take it above that up to 70, and that obviously makes the amount that you get every month a bit more. But know that if you take it earlier, it does reduce the amount. And also, I just want to put in here again, I know I've mentioned it in the past and maybe it's now more well known, but there used to be a thing called the windfall elimination
Package?
P provision
Provision.
provision or WEP,
Yeah.
that stated that if you got, for us, like if we got a UK pension, it would reduce our US Social Security amount. That has completely gone. That has been repealed as a provision, so it no longer applies. So then spreadsheets, this
Yeah.
is where the spreadsheets come in. I'm sorry,
Oh,
but it's true. So then if you can start to track, I mean, I did it as individual. So I had different columns, for the different pots that we have coming in. And I have very basic Excel skills. I can do quite a little bit with spreadsheets, but not as much as I used to be able to. I used to had loads of training on it at one point, but I'm not so good now. But if you're interested, I can talk you through what I was doing in the comments. If you're interested, let me know.
make sure that you account for both potential growth and inflation. So when Susie was going through all this hard work, she erred on the side of caution, taking growth at 4% and inflation at 3%.
Yeah. Now, the key thing is really it's the inflation part, really, because if you have money that is not growing in any way, so if, for example, I know that Paul and I, because we already have these, we'll have these IRAs, individual retirement accounts that are linked to the stock market over here. We can't use the stocks and shares ISAs back in the UK.
Yeah, there's the limits on that, isn't there?
So it means that our money is going to have to go into a cash ISA, which is going to be like a fixed growth, really, isn't it, in most cases? So you want to make sure that your money is always going to be in a pot growing at a rate that is above inflation. Otherwise, your money's going to be devalued over your retirement time. And that's something that a financial expert can help you plan out a bit better. So we do recommend that you talk to somebody about that.
The other thing is you need to look at any debt that you may have. Credit cards, personal loans, mortgages, etc.
Yeah. Now, in some cases, that is not, the ideal situation is to pay your debt off completely. So once you're in retirement, you don't have to worry about things anymore. But sometimes you may still have mortgages, because mortgages, especially in the United States, they give them for 30 years, don't they? So people might still have that going. Even things like student loans, just saying that over here, again, student loans is kind of a big thing, isn't it? And there are people that may still, in their older years, even, they may have taken student loans out even for their children. So these are things to bear in mind. If you can clear the debt, then I would recommend doing that, but I'm not a financial person. We mentioned that. We were in a very fortunate position where we have managed to clear debt. We are going to not be getting a mortgage initially when we go back to the UK. That's something we're going to sort of suss out and see what's going on, because as we know, at the time of recording, the economy is in a bit of flux right now all over the world, isn't it, for various reasons. So we're just going to sort of rent and see what settles out there. Yeah. If you are going to pay things off as a lump sum, then, obviously that's going to come off your retirement pot amount in one go. If it's going to be in installments, then put that into the planner. Yeah.
You might get a lump sum payments from some pensions, and these are usually tax-free.
Yes.
But for some pensions, you can choose to take these. Others, you can't. But there may be something you can use to pay down your debt.
Yes, so this is, so going back to before, when I said there's like two different kinds of pensions in the UK, so work pensions in the UK. So I know for mine, as I mentioned, for the two I have, Procter and Gamble and the teacher pension, I don't think I have a choice. I have to get the lump sum. Some people, if you don't want to get, so like Paul, for example, in his private pension, he can get a 25% lump sum in one go, or he can choose to have that take a payment down, draw down from that, and then tag on an extra 25%, so that the majority of the money stays in the pension pot, growing at a certain rate, rather than just eliminating 25% of it straight away, and knowing that the rest of it is going to be taxed. Like, you don't have a choice. Yeah. So again, this is based on a lot of me watching people and researching things. So, again, talk to your financial person about this. Make sure you know that. But then, as Paul was saying, if you do get one of these lump sums, you might want to time that into, oh, now I can afford a new car, or now I can remodel that kitchen, or whatever it is. Yeah. The last section we're going to talk about is taxes. Yeah. Because one of the key things is really, especially as I've been doing the research, is to try and make sure that we are paying the least amount of tax. I know there's probably a nice official way of saying it. We're not trying to cheat the tax man, but there are legal ways that you can minimize your tax levies, I guess, so that majority of the money that you have in your pension pots stays your money, essentially.
Yeah, if you're a dual citizen like we both are,
like what we are,
you need to be aware of the tax situation between the two countries. And for us, there is a treaty, which we'll talk about in another video that we'll link in the description below.
Yes, because we have done a video about the taxes. If you're interested, then once we are in the UK and sort of have, settled a little bit more, I will probably put forward a video suggestion for talking about how we are going to try and go about minimizing our taxes. Again, legally, this is all doing it through the right way. We're not squirreling money away in the Bahamas or the Cayman Islands.
We don't want to avoid. We have paid taxes all our lives, and therefore we want to continue paying taxes because we're still citizens, and we have the money where we are. We all have to pay tax, but we want to try and make that as little as we have to.
Yes.
Because we won't, other than this, we won't have an income, will we?
Right. Yeah. Now, in the video when we talked about how we're able to manage to retire early, I just wanted to remind people that we had also worked out the timeline. So the timeline of when is it that all of our other pension pots kick in? Because obviously, as Paul said, we're in our 50s now. We know that the state pension and the Social Security, they don't kick in until we're in our 60s, our late 60s, or when we choose to take them, maybe at 62. So there is actually, and once we had calculated, once we do hit those marks, we do get enough from all of our pensions, whether it's a company pension or state pensions or whatever, that cover our needs. So then actually working backwards, there was only like a 10-ish year period that we had to then rely on our other sources of information, of money.
So that's various savings and, the things we described earlier on in this video.
Yeah. So just make sure that you take that into consideration. You don't necessarily, like I was saying at the beginning, they talk about this number, and if you work with a financial planner or you want to do this yourselves, sort of realize that there is it's not like a flat line of all your expenses are going to be the same all the way through from now until you're 80, 90.
It's more like stairs.
It's going to be stairs. Yes, it's going to be stepwise, definitely. Then there are other practical considerations.
Yeah, you could determine if you're any other forms of income in retirement. Equity release from your home. They call them reverse mortgages here, don't they?
They do, yes.
Maybe part-time work. For us, there's always tutoring or consultancy or being a freelance.
Well, maybe
you could start your own YouTube channel.
And we're not saying that you always get paid on YouTube. Like at the moment, we're not monetized.
No.
I mean, it is a goal of ours, but we're not doing this to get the money. We are doing this as part of, as Paul said, is one of our purposes in our retirement. We still feel like we have,
knowledge that we want to pass on.
So that's why we started this. I will say that going back to the beginning when Paul was talking about, working out what your retirement's going to look like, because some people, once they do retire, they don't actually like the idea of not working anymore,
Mm.
but they just want more flexibility in that working environment.
Yeah.
And that's why things like the part-time work or the consultancy or things like that could come into play.
I'm reminded of your dad.
Yeah.
When he retired, to pay for his golf,
Yes.
he took a part-time job, didn't he?
That was the caveat.
Yeah.
That my mum says you can still keep golfing, but you have to find the money for your golf membership elsewhere. So he worked at a grocery store and he actually loved it.
So in our circumstances, it gives that we're very lucky that we can have a practice retirement.
Yeah.
We?
So we talked about this quite early on in our discussions, didn't we? That if we could find a way to, I think it started off actually with, we knew we were going to move back to the UK and we wanted to not have to panic like we did coming over here. When we came over here, I had a job that was already lined up to go to, but it only gave us 2 weeks to work out where we were going to live and getting a car and bank accounts
and furniture and the whole other lot.
And we didn't want that on the other side.
No, we wanted it to be less stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we decided initially to save up enough money to maybe give ourselves 2 or 3 months where we could just kind of relax back into being in the UK.
Yeah.
Meet everybody and talk to everybody and see family and do all the things that we had been missing for 15 years. And then think about finding something to do work-wise.
What next after that?
Yeah, but then that kind of then stretched out with the more research I did and the numbers that I crunched. It worked out that actually we could maybe extend that to 6 months to then being, well, maybe actually we can just go straight into retirement, you know? So we are going to trial it out because we, as I said, even though we've had these summer holidays where we can, pretend we're not working for a bit, because I mean, officially we're not employees at that point, are we?
No.
But we still get paid. I just want to say that in the US and the same in the UK, teachers, we are paid for 12 months because our 10-month salary is split over 12 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't actually just have holidays.
2 months holiday
Yeah.
isn't really a holiday. It's a time when you're unemployed.
Yes. So we are unemployed
Yeah.
for that time. So we don't know beyond those 2 months how we're going to get on. So this is our trial. We may be those people that can't actually stand being sitting around the house or pottering about or popping out for coffee. We don't know.
That's going to be tough finding out, isn't it?
I mean, I think we both know we want to volunteer. We want to get out there and meet people and through volunteering. I'm very big into the environment. I wouldn't mind, working with local people to, pick up trash as long as you give me gloves because I don't like touching things. Things like that. We do want to get out and about and do things, but it doesn't, we don't know how we're going to feel after maybe 6 months of just not working. That's going to be, because both of us started working. I mean, I know I had a bit of a break there when we talk about university, but really I started working properly, like, with part-time work here, there and everywhere at 15, and you started in full-time in 19 when you were 19 or something. So it's been a long time since we've had nothing to do for an extended period of time. So we don't really know, do we?
Another thing to think about is, can you increase your savings or your pension contributions that can bring forward your time that you retire? Other things to consider is, if you're an empty nester, do you really need to be keeping hold of a big house? Maybe you could downsize, or certainly it seems to be a thing within the US is, could you relocate to a cheaper area?
Yeah.
The northern part of America is very expensive.
And the West Coast.
And the West Coast. And so what we've found living in Charlotte is there's a lot of people relocate in retirement to make their dollars stretch further.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, some people in the US move to Costa Rica and Mexico and places because they know it's cheaper. I mean, there's a lot of, if you go onto YouTube, there's a lot of people from people who talk about how their retirement is travel.
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
That they know it's cheaper for them to literally stay in hotels or Airbnbs and move from one country to the other or go on little mini cruises. And that's actually cheaper for them to
Mm.
just straight up retire in America. So,
Yeah.
go out and investigate, have a look at it.
So, as a kind of coda to all this, if you're seriously thinking about retirement and you want a copy of our retirement expenses budget planner that my beloved here has
That's right.
so beautifully crafted.
So yeah, if you're interested, it's open to our subscribers. So you're going to have to first subscribe to our channel.
Yeah.
Because we do have lots of good advice anyway. So you'd want to do that naturally.
And then in our comments section, you just type in the word freebie, and we'll reply to you with the link to get the planner.
Yeah. And hopefully that'll help you if you want to start your journey into retiring. I mean, that would be even if you're retiring normal, I would think, even if you are retiring at a more, standard retirement age, should I say, and not retiring early. It's just and even if you're just budgeting, straight up budgeting for your household, it is created so that it's to help you financially. So if it's of help to you, please subscribe. And freebie, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. So
go on, after you.
No, I was just going to say, if you find this helpful, please give us a thumbs up and share it with anybody that also might find it helpful. If you have questions for us, if like we were too vague, or if you wanted more information in a certain area, then please feel free to drop a line to us in the comment section.
So if you found this video helpful, please hit that like button. It really helps our channel grow. And if you want to follow our journey as we move back to the UK and figure out what's life like after the 9 to 5, or in our case, the 5 to 3.
5 to 3:35, yeah.
Subscribe and turn on the notifications.
Yeah, so please make sure that you keep watching us. We are going to be carrying on with our journey.
Yep.
Back to the UK. Probably one of the next coming videos will be actually us being back in the UK.
Yeah.
So let's see how we get on. You might, I don't know. We're definitely going to enjoy that first chippy tea, aren't we?
Yes. Tea. Speaking of tea, it's time to wrap this up because I need another one now. This is empty.
Okay.
So thank you for watching. Take care and bye for now.
Cheers to everyone. Bye.
Cheers.